Alex here with a high conflict child custody video on they will never say good things about you. And I'm talking specifically about when an issue goes to litigation. So they may say good things about you, to their friends or, between you and them, or even when it does go to court but it settles. But what I wanted to do this video on was the whole issue that really seems to surprise, frustrate, and infuriate people that are representing themselves, at least, because lawyers are kind of used to it and they kind of know that it's coming. The average person who's representing themselves does not expect this, and many times it drives them absolutely crazy. The thing is, if you're going to court on an issue and your ex wants to win on that issue, and if they have an attorney, no matter what, this is going to happen. If they don't have an attorney, it probably will happen, especially if they are personality disordered or some other kind of abuser. Anyway, what happens is they're never going to say that you're doing anything right. They have to come up with something that you're doing wrong, no matter how inane, no matter how small, no matter how pathetic it is for them to bring for them to bring up whatever it is they're bringing up. And by pathetic, I mean it could be that it's a really small, stupid issue, or it could be that it's they're exploiting some kind of kindness that you did, and basically using it against you as a weapon. I guess I'll give two examples of that, because one of these happened to me, one of these happened to a friend. So for me, I offered my ex to have my son when I went on a vacation, so that I wouldn't have to leave him with a sitter. Basically, I was like, hey, if you want to watch him, you can. Now, I implied that if you don't want to watch him, I'll just put him with a sitter. There was never any other implication. But when it went back to court, and this wasn't this issue that went to court, it was another issue. One of the things she brought up was, when he went on a vacation, he left our child with me. As in, like, I didn't want him, and I wasn't going to give him to anyone else. I was just going to ditch him or leave him. It was a way for her to take something that I did, which was nice, and turn around and say, basically, that I dumped him on her, and she had to drop everything and watch him when she didn't want to. And what this does is it requires you to kind of tell the court that's a lie. In all honesty, if she would have said she couldn't take care of him, I would have left him with a sitter. And then you waste time talking about something that's so inane. With my friend, it was really just a lot of petty stuff. In fact, this happened to me too. What I've noticed with attorneys, I mean, they're paid to win a case, and they have to find two ways to win it, really, is to show that their client is doing the right thing, or to show that you're doing the wrong thing. And if their client isn't doing the right thing, and you're not doing anything wrong, then it really leaves the lawyer with two choices. They can go to court and say, Your Honor, my client wants to prevail on this issue, and the other guy is doing great. They're going to lose. They're never going to do that. They're going to have to come up with something that you're doing wrong. And a lot of times it could be a lie, but a lot of times it's really small, silly things. And that really frustrates a lot of people that are representing themselves, because they know they're in court, they're doing the best that they can possibly do, they're making no mistakes or a few mistakes, and they feel like they deserve some credit. When they want to push an issue and go in front of the judge, they feel that their ex should give them some credit. Well, that's not going to happen. And when you expect that to happen and it doesn't, it really messes you up in the head, because you just feel so betrayed and cheated, sometimes tricked. Like in my case, when my ex said, sure, I'll watch him, thanks, and then turned around and said, hey, he doesn't want to watch your son, and just dumped him on me. Sometimes you'll feel tricked, betrayed, lied to, and it causes your emotions to swell up. And of course, once you start to get emotional in court, you can say things that look bad. You could look like an angry, mean person, and judges should know when it's because you are an angry, mean person versus you feel like you've been betrayed or lied to. But some judges don't know, especially new judges, and then you could end up losing your case because you went in there expecting to be treated fairly, for lack of a better word, fairly. You expected to be treated fairly, and you weren't. They found a bunch of annoying little tiny things, tried to blow them out of proportion, because they just wanted to win at all costs, and they didn't care about the kids. So, or at least in their mind, they thought they cared about the kids, but in actuality, you get what I'm saying. So, I think I've kind of repeated this a couple of times already, but the moral of the story on this video is you need to prepare yourself when you're going to court for them to smear you, for them to slander you, whether they have an attorney or not. Because, I mean, I suppose if somebody's representing themselves, they could possibly not want to say bad things about you in court. I don't know why that would happen, because they should just settle the case if they don't have any issues with you and you're asking for something reasonable. But a lot of times, even when they don't have an attorney, it's the same thing. They're still doing the same thing that their attorney would be doing anyway, which is digging up a bunch of things on you and bringing them bringing them up. It's the only way you could really go around it is if you just get your mindset correctly when you start to bring the issue of litigation up, as you're following through the process. So, filing the motion, reply, request for submission, and finally, when you're getting into the courtroom, just tell yourself right away, they are going to say bad things about me. They are never going to go in there and say that I'm doing everything right or that I'm even doing anything right. Sometimes, a lot of times, my ex wouldn't even say I did anything right. They're never going to do that. Prepare yourself for that so that when it happens, you already expected it. And since you expected it, it shouldn't derail you. It shouldn't derail your train of thought, your emotional stability. You should be able to, push through, complete your presentation to the court knowing that, yeah, they're saying all this crazy stuff about me, but I expected that. This is not a shock. I'm not surprised by it at all. And that's one of the ways that you can push forward, complete your presentation, and hopefully win on the issue. If anyone has any questions or wants to provide any feedback, feel free to post something in the comments below. It would be interesting to see some of the silly little, inane, it's a great word for it because that's what it is, things that their ex may have said about them. Because and you know what, I don't know if I talked about this, but if you're doing things that are wrong, obviously they're going to use those against you in court. Legitimate, bona fide, dumb things. If you're doing those things, they're going to come up in court. But if you're not doing anything wrong at all, then it really leaves them no choice but to find silly little inane things to bring up. That's just a way of you should be able to reassure yourself and say, the reason my ex is bringing up all of these petty little things is because they didn't have anything better. Because I was doing my job as a parent. So in a way, you could, sort of turn around that thought process and, I don't know, see their silly little accusations, allegations as, as basically you having done, for the most part, everything the way you were supposed to do it, and that's all that they were left with. So, and I'm sure, your opponent, I'm not so sure, but I'm sure lawyers know this. I'm sure when lawyers, they're paid to win cases, they have to say something. I'm sure they know that they're saying, or I'm sure they know that they're bringing up issues that are petty or small. I'm sure they can anticipate that they're probably going to lose. So I'm sure for lawyers, they're just kind of going through the motions of what their job entails. And some of the better ones will even tell their client, hey, you're going to lose, you should just settle. But their client just refuses, which forces them to go to court and, as the theme goes, bring up a bunch of small little tiny things that you did. So got a little bit off track there, but as I was saying, if you have any comments, go ahead and post it down in the comments below. If you had it happen to you, you can post an example. Sometimes it's useful for people to see, what's going on in other cases so that they can feel like, I'm not the weird one, I'm not the alien. Other people are going through this too. Their exes are saying these silly things too. So, and of course, as always, you can send an email if you want to be more private. And with that, I'm going to end this video.